there was Zelda, and then the new Pokemon. I didn't watch the whole thing. They had a long thing on it, but
The new Zelda game, I think, looks good. I hope they don't go away from what makes a Zelda game, and try to, once again, you know, make it something that it isn't. The Zelda games always had a certain play style, and they would, from time to time, introduce a new dynamic, but for the most part, it was the same kind of gameplay, just with the new graphics.
yeah. Yeah, I would say I think the graphics look great. I love the cell shading, the art style for it. But yeah, like you said, they said that some of the traditions were broken, which I hope. There were a couple little things that I was like, oh, I kind of like that. Like, I think whenever Link got his bow, he opened up the chest. And normally it's he opened up the chest, the music plays, and then he holds it up. And this one is just like, he opened up the chest, boom, and it's like, you got a bow. And I was like, oh, that's kind of stinks. But they did say that some of the traditions they kept. And
Well, even that one, being little as it is, you're right. It did kind of make. That's one of the things I haven't played all of the Zelda games, but the ones I have, that was one of the things that stuck out to me was whenever you open a chest, it was, truly an epic time.
yeah.
So to take that out is a little peculiar. The cel-shaded graphics kind of go back to the Wind Waker, but with a more realistic look to it, which is exciting. Like I said, it looked very good in the gameplay footage.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll get it. I'm definitely get it no matter what, but they introduced some technology with the Sheikah Slate, which the Sheikah tribe was always described as an advanced people. They're kind of mysterious, so we don't really know a lot about them. They almost seemed like an iPad or something like was carrying around, but you have more abilities and magic with it. Including gathering, you can get different weapons and armor, which is really cool. The one thing that I'm not sure how I feel about, they said that the weapons that you use, you don't use them long term. Like you said, you'll get one weapon, go and fight a group, and it might break, it'll probably break, but then you get another weapon based on the group you just fought, which will be interesting, but obviously once you get the Master Sword, it can't break. But yeah, it looks cool. A new Pokemon Sun and Moon game. I haven't played a new Pokemon game in years. I was actually thinking about it, getting this one because I just got a new DS, and I wasn't crazy about it. I don't know what it was, just the play style. Maybe it's because I haven't played a Pokemon in so many years that I'm not used to the new play style, but I don't know, we'll see.
Sony opened up their press conference with footage of the new God of War. Not really sure when this one takes place in the whole timeline. I think they ended up getting a little crazy with the God of War games with the last few, but this one seems to be going back to the fundamentals, and it looks to be, what made the God of Wars good, the first few. It's exciting to see that.
I don't think I've ever played a God of War game the whole way through, but this one looked good.
Yeah, I played the first one the whole way through. Not sure if I played the second one the whole way through, but I did remember playing the second one.
Introducing, I think it's his son in the story. And Sony and Bear McCreary is doing their music there, and he does The Walking Dead and a couple other big movies. I think he did what was it called? Oh, 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Oh.
Just talking about Call of Duty. Call of Duty again doing another futuristic game, which I haven't been crazy about, and I think this year might be when Battlefield does better than Call of Duty. I'm sure Call of Duty will do well, but I think a lot of people are excited about going back to World War One.
I actually played Call of Duty Black Ops 3 and really enjoyed the story of it. Bought it for the multiplayer, but started playing the story and it got hooked. Ended up playing the story the whole way through.
Yeah.
Really, really trippy story, but it seems like Call of Duty does a good job of providing a good story. I'm sure Infinite Warfare will be no different.
Yeah.
Battlefield games aren't really known for their stories, so it'll be interesting to see if they can add a story into Battlefield. Not that they need to, but
Yeah.
they might decide that they might do that.
Although with Battlefield, what was the game that came out after Battlefield 4?
Hardline?
Hardline. I played the campaign for it and I loved it. Like it, and I don't think it, like they didn't show it off at all or anything. And I don't know if many people played it, but it was really good. I was surprised. I beat it in like a day. So maybe we'll. I don't know if they're gonna have a campaign for Battlefield 1. I'm pretty sure they are.
They showed a little clip there, The Last Guardian. That's another game that's been in development for a long time. Suffered quite a few delays.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see. It looks reminiscent of Shadow of the Colossus, maybe even made by the same people. But it'll be interesting to see. I really enjoyed Shadow of the Colossus. Not a real difficult game, but just a game that just had really sucked you into the atmosphere. So it'll be interesting to see that.
Yeah, and it comes out October 25th. Oh, this Detroit Become Human, I thought it looked really cool. It started out, I think you're an android, and apparently an android kind of went bad and was holding a human hostage, and you had to negotiate. And you have a bunch of different options that affect the outcome. And it just seemed like a really cool game like that. Kind of like the Telltale games, where you make small decisions, but they ultimately come back to either help you or haunt you. So that looks pretty good. And we have Resident Evil Biohazard, which is compatible with VR. Which should probably be a really cool VR game.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see how the gameplay is. I know with Resident Evil 4, it kind of switched up the gameplay style, so it'll be interesting to see. It doesn't look to be the same in 7, so it'll be interesting to see which way they go with that.
Yeah, I loved 4. It was one of the only ones I beat. And PlayStation coming out with their own VR. It'll be $3.99. It comes out October 13th. And they said they're going to have 50 games from launch to the end of the year, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Once again, you already have the console, so to buy the VR headset, it's like buying the equivalent of buying another Xbox console.
Yeah.
So if you're a PlayStation fan or owner looking to, do the next thing, buying the headset isn't that bad. I think the price point's very comparable. I'll be anxious to see if it's the same caliber of VR as you find in your HTC Vive or your Oculus Rift. I know that they have a gun controller coming out with it. Not the greatest looking controller, but you're going to be in the VR headset anyway, so as long as it performs well, I think that's the most important thing. And they're claiming that it's one-to-one movement, so there's no delay in your movement. So that'll be an interesting dynamic that they're adding to first-person shooters.
Yeah. Well, and with the HTC Vive, when I saw the controllers, I didn't think I would like them, but getting in the game and you don't even notice, and they actually work really well.
Right. It's not so much as what they look like, it's how they perform in the game. And if Sony's performs as well as they say it's going to, then it'll really be some interesting prospects with that, especially in the Resident Evil game. if you can use that controller in that game, that'd be really interesting.
Yeah, and they had a couple big name games for VR. There's Star Wars Battlefront, which looked awesome, and it's hard to screw up Star Wars, but I guess they did with Battlefront a little bit, but
it looks like they're going to do those space missions that we
Yes.
talked about prior. And it looks like they're going to do that in the VR mission. So it'll be interesting to see how the gameplay actually works, and if they can take that same gameplay and give it to the people that don't have the VR. Switch it out to a third-person mode, or even be in the cockpit of the X-wing.
Yeah.
I don't see why it wouldn't be applicable to that.
no. And then Batman Arkham VR, which is another, I think, if it works well, I think it'd be a really cool game.
I recently picked up Batman Arkham Knight. Haven't been able to really get into it, but those games have done very well, and they're very open-ended. So if they can provide that same open-endedness with the VR, that'll be really interesting.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
So they have Resident Evil, Star Wars, Batman, Farpoint. It's almost enough to get me to go buy a PS4 and eventually get the VR. I don't think I will, but I mean, it makes a strong argument for PS4.
Yes.
And actually, if Microsoft hadn't come out with the new Xbox, it might have been enough to get me to get a PS4.
Yeah, to me, PlayStation's outing wasn't enough to compel me to get the VR. The games did look good, but just the gameplay experience on Xbox is, I feel, is so much better that I would actually consider getting rid of my PlayStation to fund my new Xbox One S.
Well, it's one of those things. It's like, yeah, for me, I don't have a PS4, so these games look good, but is it enough to buy a console and buy the VR, and to risk the game not being as good? It's not enough. So.
Wow, and with Microsoft having a VR headset coming down the road, and it's not like the PlayStation is your only option for VR.
Yeah. Then we had a pretty big announcement. We had Kojima at the conference. I loved his "I'm back," and then he announced his new game, Death Stranding, with Norman Reedus. And I think a lot of hype surrounding this game. After the Silent Hill debacle, I guess. We knew Norman Reedus had met with Kojima, so there was a lot of hope that they would make a game, and they did.
And looking at this footage, and then if you go back and look at Kojima's new symbol for his production team, and they've even gone further and shown footage of that suit a little bit more. After this announcement with the footage of Norman Reedus in it, it almost looks like Norman Reedus in that suit, that futuristic suit of armor, and that has me really intrigued. At first I thought, whenever I saw the Kojima symbol, I had hopes that it would be for Zone of the Enders 3, which was not a very popular PlayStation 2 video game. I really enjoyed it. I like the art style, I like the concept, and I like the gameplay. And he had talked about making a third one, but I don't know with his split from Konami if that's still going to happen or not.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird situation. Like, if that was a Konami game, then you probably wouldn't be able to. I don't know if it was a Konami game or if it was just Kojima, but...
Right.
Then we have a Spider-Man game, which is kind of exciting. Again, it's not enough for me to go and get a PS4, but I love Spider-Man, and I forget which Spider-Man I had. I think it was one on Xbox, but it was pretty cool just going around the city, swinging around, and
I think as long as it's not based on a movie and they take their time developing it, I think it'll do very well. There hasn't been, I think, a video game yet based on a movie that has, really stood on its own or really been a really good game. But this being a standalone Spider-Man title, I have high hopes for it. I think it'll do well.
that's funny. I'm trying to think of a game that was based on a movie that did well. I don't know if I can. I'm trying to think. All the Batman games are standalone.
Oh, wow, the Batman games that have done well.
Yeah.
Then we saw footage of a zombie game called Days Gone. Looks good. Looks like kind of like they're the World War Z type zombies.
Yeah.
With the fast or the masses of them and the fast moving. So it'll be interesting to see how that works with the gameplay. Graphics looked good.
Mm-hmm.
So if they take their time and don't rush it, I think it could be a promising zombie game.
Oh, and it's something that sets it apart. There's so many zombie games now. Just anything to set it apart, I think, would help. Having the fast, big, massive zombies.
Which we didn't mention about the new Dead Rising game coming out from Microsoft. Which in those games the zombies aren't fast moving, and I think with the last Dead Rising, they're almost moving towards a more comical mayhem.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the style that they're going to kind of lighten a dark setting.
Yeah.
Which is understandable to try to draw more people into it. It showed off a lot of crazy contraptions for dispatching the zombies, so that'll be interesting to see what they come up with this time.
Oh yeah, I remember the first one. You could make stuff, but it wasn't really anything crazy. It was almost more of a realistic zombie game. Now by the third one, there's some pretty insane stuff that.
Yeah.
But
it was still fun to play.
Oh yeah.
So I think that you can take those reasonable collaborations so far, and then you've got to go beyond that to the point where they did and make some really crazy stuff.
Yeah, having 4 games, you have to do something to change it up and keep it fun. And then also a zombie game. I think we got State of Decay.
Yeah, they showed a little bit of that. The first one I didn't really get into. It was promising. But at the same time, they had said that they were going to have multiplayer, which really been a cool aspect to it. It looks like with this new one that's coming out, they are going to come through on that multiplayer aspect, which will add a whole new dynamic to the game. Maybe make me visit that.
I did like a lot of stuff about State of Decay, about the idea of building your own base is really cool. Having to go out and get resources But yeah, like you said, they said there would be multiplayer. And I played the single player for a while, but eventually it just kind of got repetitive, and without being able to play with anyone else, kind of got slow. So yeah, I might check this new one out.
Thanks for watching our first episode on E3. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to ask them in the comment section. Once again, this was Brandon.
I'm Nick.
And you are watching Gamer News Talk.